We've got some breaking news on the Bulls front. After it was recently announced that the Bulls extended a qualifying offer to both Coby White and Dosunmu, we now have a report that just came out from Shams Charania that the Bulls are nearing a contract extension with Nikola Vucevic to the tune of 3 years, $60 million, which was to be expected, although I think we were all kind of hoping there was going to be a hometown discount of some kind for Vuce to take to give the Bulls a little more flexibility as it relates to getting pushed up near that luxury tax line. At the time of this recording anyway, the reporting is still very early, so we don't know if there are any options or partial guarantees on this deal, as in the final year is partially guaranteed or a potential team option on that last year. What I'll say is this, and then I'll have a more detailed video out on the ramifications of this extension as it relates to the rest of the Bulls offseason. I know a lot of Bulls fans aren't going to like it. Why would we invest that kind of money in Vucevic when he's 32, effectively having him under contract until he's 35? And yes, he hasn't been the all-star player we thought we traded for from Orlando, who was putting up 24 and 12 on solid efficiency at that time. What you have to understand, well, a couple things. The Bulls had very few options as it relates to their starting center role. There were not a lot of strong replacement options for Vucevic at that starting 5 spot. And unlike what most people think, just letting him walk and you get all that cap space back, I've said it ad nauseum here, but I'll say it again. By letting Vucevic walk for nothing, you don't simply get the cap space back on your books. As some have called it before, it's the bird rights trap. When you own a player's bird rights, you have the ability to sign or extend them in operating over the cap while signing a free agent outright from another team. You cannot do that if you're already an over the cap team. You have to have the cap space to sign a new free agent. And even if the Bulls did let Vucevic walk, they would still be an over the cap team with all the other salaries they have on their payroll. So they wouldn't be able to sign another $20 million player. The most they could use is the mid-level exception. And then whoever they sign for the mid-level exception to replace Vucevic, a player who wouldn't be as good as Vuce, you now have used your entire mid-level exception, which restricts you from signing other free agents to improve the roster. Yes, if the Bulls didn't re-sign Vuce, it would have afforded them much more flexibility as it relates to coming close to the luxury tax, but it doesn't change anything from the fact that they would still be an over-the-cap team and would be limited in signing other league free agents. So in a way, they almost had to bring back Vuce, so as not to downgrade their roster further while still being over the cap. And then the other thing, look, you can be mad at Vuce all you want. Doesn't play hard enough on defense, is slow, not athletic, he hasn't shot the ball very well since being in Chicago, unlike his Orlando days. He's old, say what you want. But he's still a very good and productive player. Top 5 in the league in double-doubles, one of the best rebounders in the game, led the league in defensive rebounds last season, played all 82 games, so you can call him old, but he's still very durable and is available, which is saying a lot in today's NBA when it's very rare that players play all 82 games. Yeah, he's not an all-star anymore, and will probably never be an all-star again, but he's still one of the better centers in the league, and if the Bulls can utilize him properly, because I still think his overall usage and what he brings was mismanaged a lot last season, and if the Bulls can add some rim protection and other defensive pieces around Vuce, which, yes, is easier said than done, then Vuce, with his playmaking, being one of the better passing centers in the NBA, his ability to operate in the pick and roll, his scoring and rebounding, you factor in everything he brings. And also just looking at the current market value with the increased salary cap space, this actually isn't a bad deal. $20 million a year for Vucevic is decent. Now, what I will say, the Bulls were also kind of bidding against themselves here. It's not like Vuce really would have had a lot of options as a free agent with few teams having cap space. He wasn't going to be going to a rebuilding team at this stage in his career. And if he wanted to go to a contender, he would have had to take a steep discount, which, for a player of his caliber towards the end of his career and wanting that one last big contract, probably wasn't something Vuce wanted either. So I am slightly disappointed because you'd have to think the Bulls had quite a bit of leverage in this situation, as well as potentially could have gotten him something closer to $18 million a year, which maybe even a little bit less, and really Vuce would have been forced to sign it because he wouldn't have been able to get that from other teams unless he wanted to go to a rebuilding team. So if this is in fact 3 years, fully guaranteed, that makes it not as attractive when you consider the Bulls were really one of the few options for him, but I also get it. It's bad business to try and lowball him. That could cause tension with him in management and impact his overall play. You also want to ensure your players are happy and valued for their contributions. But still, we also know the Bulls aren't going to be paying the luxury tax, and a deal like this really limits their ability to use that full mid-level exception with how close they're going to be to the tax line now with a $20 million salary for Vucevic. Like I said, I'll have a more detailed video out on the salary cap and tax implications on this deal and how it impacts the rest of the roster. Let me know what you guys think on this signing, though. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.